Hey everyone, it's Erin with Hail Varsity. I am joined by Steve, also of Hail Varsity, and we are back for a football video to just kind of talk about, the latest in Nebraska football. Typically, the person sitting here right now would be Greg, but I am filling in for him this week. But we have Steve. He's a familiar face. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Erin, and just enjoying the beautiful weather. We always seem to bring up the weather here, Greg and I, but yeah, just enjoying it, and never a dull moment with Nebraska football and its program, and it showed it this week as well. So,
Well, to be fair, though, you cover both your beats are football, women's basketball, and baseball. So you have two sports with football and baseball that have a lot of time outside. So when you're
yeah.
thinking about the weather right now, you have a legitimate reason to be talking about the weather because spring football is on the horizon and baseball. So the fact that you'll be able to enjoy nice weather outside, like you talk about the weather as much as you want because this is your literal beat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm wondering, because I hear talk on social media about this, are we going to be paying for this in like next month or in 2 months here? I don't
don't
know.
don't don't put that energy into the world. We can't afford
Okay.
that. We're just gonna keep thinking positive thoughts.
Yep.
Well, the thing is we're still a couple of weeks away from spring football starting, and we will have plenty to talk about once that starts, but that doesn't mean that there isn't football to talk about now. In fact, Nebraska has made another hire to its football staff. Vince Guinta, he has taken the role of senior director of player personnel and recruiting. He's coming from Baylor, where he was the associate AD of player development. So Steve and I just thought we would talk a little bit about this hire because this is also not the first time he has been at Nebraska. So kind of a lot to dig in here. Steve, when you saw this announcement, you kind of looked a little bit into Vince Ginta. What were your initial reactions?
Well, my initial reaction was like, there is so much change. Like we knew there was change going on, like on the players, like on the field portion of this, but like behind the scenes, Vince Ginta, I think, is a really, really huge deal just because he's going to be running the show over there now. And, like you said, I think he spent 2014 through 2018 under the Bill Callahan years and some of
Oh,
the
2004 to 2008. Don't you
yeah,
you just advanced it a whole decade.
yeah,
People
4 to 8, my bad.
people
That
are
would have
like,
been a
"Wait,
long
how long ago was it?" You
yes,
had the right years. You
2004.
just went a whole decade forward.
2004 to 2008. And some of his guys, key recruits that he had come to Lincoln, were really playing well in those 2009 and 2010 teams and went 10-4, I believe. So, yeah, coming from, and anybody really like Dave Aranda, he's running a great program that, he had a rough first season in 2020, but then he really turned it on. And this past season went 2-12 with the Sugar Bowl win. So they were doing everything right over there at Baylor. And now, Vince Ginta is coming over here, and I think he's just going to take, everything that he's learned. And, he's been in the business for a long time. He's been a lot of different places, has a lot of Pac-12 experience, knows a lot of people on the West Coast, has some Big 12 experience with Baylor. So I just think it's yet another reason to kind of just understand that the 2022 season is going to be a really big one for Scott, and he's making a lot of the changes that in previous years we just didn't see a lot of the changes.
Yeah, and this is kind of one of those things when we talk about with football that we don't know what these changes will ultimately mean on the field until we see them in the
Yeah.
fall. But the thing that I will share with people who are like, why should I get excited about this hire? I mean, I don't know. Two of Nebraska's, I would say, arguably bigger recruits in the last 20 years, being Ndamukong Suh and Zach Taylor. Ginta was a part of both of those. He was a part of recruiting both of those individuals. And I know when we talk about Ndamukong Suh and what he did for Nebraska, while he played for Bo Pelini and he saw that, Bo definitely was a part of that development for him, he was still recruited by Bill Callahan's staff, and Ginta was a part of that. And obviously Zach Taylor, I was just doing a little bit of, I was in college at the same time that Zach Taylor played for Nebraska, but thinking back on kind of like what he did, I went and looked at his stats, and it's like he came in 2005, had a rough start to his career at Nebraska, and then really took off in 2005, and then really built on that in 2006 and became the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, and has really just had a very steady trajectory in his upward trajectory in his life. He's now obviously coaching the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. But when you think of like what Guinta has been able to do, he can clearly help decipher talent and determine like who Nebraska should go after. And actually, too bad we don't have Greg with us right now to dive into the recruiting piece of this. But I will say, from the times I've talked with Greg, we do a recruiting video every week, and we talk a lot about Nebraska's ability to like see talent early, identify talent early. This could be a big, having Vince Guinta on the staff, when you're talking about a staff that is already doing a good job of this determining that talent early. You think that he could be a big part of like making sure that happens going forward?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, identifying talent and evaluating that talent is incredibly important. And there are cases that can be made that hasn't really been as high as it needed to be, like recently under the Frost program. So yeah, with Vince coming in, I mean, he's, like I said, he's got so much experience from all over the country. And, you know, even the Big Ten, he's spent 2 seasons at Wisconsin too. So he knows the Big Ten also. He knows the Big 12. He knows Pac-12, West Coast, in the South. So I think it's just another reason to, I guess, it's an off-season momentum. Greg and I talked about off-season momentum in one of these videos last week. And, you know, there's plenty of it right now, but let's just like pump the brakes and just like, until we see it on the field, it's going to be all roses in the off season, just like it is every season. But honestly, this is a really great hire. And I think it's really going to do well for the program here.
Yeah. I mean, Frost is definitely, Nebraska has, like Steve said, been making a lot of changes behind the scenes when it comes to its staff. You also had Northern Iowa linebackers coach DJ Vokolek, which that name sounds very, very familiar, is joining Nebraska's staff as a quality control coach. Obviously, if you need that's Travis Vokolek's dad. So you keeping the familiarity, but obviously DJ Vokolek has his own impressive resume as well. But there's a lot of change happening behind the scenes. Like you said, I think it's important that people, don't get too ahead of themselves. I actually was recently talking about this. I think it's okay to be optimistic when you see, the players that have been recruited, when you see the changes that have been made behind the scenes, not only to the coaching staff itself, but to those support positions, whether it's in recruiting, quality control, you name it. That's all reason to be optimistic. But it's also okay if you want to be skeptical. There's a healthy dose of skepticism in this as well, because you don't know what any of this means until you see it actually in action. And so we'll get a chance this spring, especially with somebody like Guinta, as they're bringing recruits onto campus and they start working to develop relationships, develop these players. You'll start to have a little bit of an understanding of how things are going to work and who's doing what and what it might mean. What does it mean this fall? Well, unfortunately, we can't predict that. These hires don't tell us anything until we actually see what the product looks like on the field. So I would say it's okay to be optimistic. It's okay to be a skeptic at the same time. Both of those things can exist in the same world when it comes to Nebraska football.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. And to touch on DJ Vokolek again, that brings up another good point. There's like a little pipeline flowing from Nebraska and Northern Iowa with Omar Brown, the FCS Freshman of the Year, coming in and competing for one of those cornerback spots, and also from last year, Chris Kolarovic too at linebacker here. So just a steady stream of talent and now coaching coming from Northern Illinois to Lincoln.
It's gonna be
Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa.
Stirring up all over today.
It's all good. It's all these words. I was going to say like a midweek video, and then I realized it's Thursday, so it's not really midweek, it's not really end of week. And so then I was kind of wondering, like, what is a Thursday in a week? So if people want to tell me, like, what do you consider a Thursday in the comments, like, where do you place that in your week? It's like Friday Eve. Anyway, yeah. I have so many questions. One last thing, let's touch on this really, really quick. Speaking of Fridays, Nebraska just had an update to its schedule for 2021, 2022. We're actually in 2022 now. Who knows?
No, I messed you up. That's my fault. Let's continue on.
It's fine. I don't know what year it is. It doesn't matter anymore. But Nebraska was supposed to have, Nebraska's schedule has changed now a couple of times for the 2022 season. So the weekend of October 8th was originally a bye weekend. Now Nebraska was set to play Rutgers on Saturday, October 8th. That has been moved to Friday, October 7th. We know the Big Ten wants these Friday night games. Nebraska has not had one in a while outside. For the record, I'm not talking about the Black Friday games. Those are different. That is a separate thing when we're in this conversation. We're talking about these mid-season Friday night games that the Big Ten loves. You all don't love them. I see you on Twitter. I get it. I'm not partial to them either. But Nebraska is going to be in New Jersey on a Friday night. Steve, what are your thoughts about New Jersey on a Friday night?
Yeah, it'll be my first time going to New Jersey, so I'm excited to go cover the game over there. It's going to be fun, but having it on Friday night, like, I understand why the conference wants to do it and all that, but like, just especially in a state like Nebraska where people are so interested and enthusiastic about their high school football, like Friday is like the high school football day. So a lot of players are not even going to be like watching the game until like Saturday if they record it. A lot of the football coaches too. So I like I said, I understand why the conference wants to do it, but deep down, like my personal like opinion, I don't like it much, but my opinion doesn't matter much, and they're going to do what they want. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's another change, I guess. That's just a program full of it right now. So
look, that is my birthday weekend. So I just need the Big Ten to just like start considering me and like chilling out a little bit, because these changes make it make it difficult for me to plan. Now, if you are circling that date on your calendar, okay, really quick, Nebraska obviously played Illinois on a Friday night game. I think that was 2017, been a while. So we're talking 5 years. It is what it is. But if you're circling that date, you're like, all right, maybe I'm going to head out there, make a weekend of it in New York City or something, because it isn't a far train ride. If you're looking for one other storyline, there is one Noah Vedral who is still on the Rutgers roster. Could make some interesting, depending on now the quarterback situation for Rutgers heading into 2022. We don't know what that looks like, but he will still be part of the roster as far as we know right now. So could make for some interesting storylines. Yeah, absolutely. Storylines everywhere over there in Piscataway these days. So good for you for saying that, because I'm not even going to try to say how my brain tries to interpret the name of that city. I just say New Jersey. Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised that I didn't mess that one up too. So, well, Steve, I appreciate your time. It was good to just chat a little Husker football. For those of you who are like, this is great, but we're waiting for like actual spring football, don't worry. It's almost here. We're looking at the end of this month, beginning of March. Things are going to get rolling really quickly, and then we're going to be full swing into spring football. So you don't have much longer to wait. Until then, next week, Steve will be back with Greg for the football video, but I appreciate you letting me step in this week, Steve, and I appreciate your time. Oh, no problem. It was fun. Let's do it again sometime.